Hello students, welcome back for the course of MBA Semester 4 International HRM. Today is our lecture number 4, 5 and 6, and the topic of our today's discussion is developing international HR strategies and introduction to culture. So, the primary objective of this session is help to understand the developing international HR strategies and some basic aspects of culture. So the contents of our today's session are developing IHRM strategies, issues in IHRM, barriers to effective global HRM, introduction to culture and elements of culture. So this session has been primarily divided into some strategic part of IHRM. So the first 3 points deals with it, and from the next two topics that are being primarily related with the culture and how does culture plays a very important role in our IHRM activities that we are going to discuss today. So first of all, we are going to start with developing IHRM strategies. HR strategies which has been conducted at international level, they will primarily vary from country to country, particularly from domestic HRM or from international HRM. While talking about IHRM strategies, here we are primarily focusing on truly global transactions by means of which we can serve the appropriate organization, okay, so that we can create the leader, okay, or leadership among the potential candidate, those who are having the management capabilities and projecting themselves to serve to the global customers by means of using the global transactions. And that's why it is quite necessary to build the global culture. IHMM strategies are being focusing on the overall phenomena with respect to the global cultural management specifically, or we further called it as a cross cultural management. Here we would likely to focus on the expatriates, those who are belonging to different socio-cultural background, and the management of this expatriate. How does that expatriate can convert any organization into a profitable organization by means of inculcating the leadership qualities among them. How does that we are going to involve in the overall HR processes? Here we do require lots of restructuring in initial phases. We need to restructure the organization whenever the new HR entrants would join any organization. Particularly in IHRM, such form of restructuring would be very necessary. Okay, so what form of HR processes are being inculcating by that expatriate, or by means of using that expatriate, how does he will be performing the specific kind of operation that particularly depends on the organization, and what form of restructuring functions would enabled. Sound technical and managerial skills are very essential, and by means of identifying and retaining the managerial talent. Particularly in longer run, many organizations are focusing the by means of identifying the appropriate candidates, particularly the expatriate, by means of they must have some sound technical knowledge as well as managerial skills so that they can lead their organizations further. So such kind of managerial talent would be invited and they would be retained in their organization depending on several form of policies which are included, and they could be attracted by means of using effective compensation strategies. Effective quality management practices, finally, it is the ideology of the firm. How does they are going to project themselves to the outside world? So, effective quality management practices, and depending on the form of ideology, these expatriate could be get invited within these organizations and they could be retain their jobs further. It is quite necessary to retain these expatriate by means of using effective succession planning. So the management of the organization that they are being focusing on succession planning or management of successions of the expatriate, and they will be promoted further for other international assignments, sustaining and improving the performance standard. So continuous benchmark related activities are need to be conducted by the management of the organization, and they are being focusing keenly on improving the employees performance as well as they are being focusing on inviting the managerial talent across the sectors, specifically the expatriates. Implementing global HRIS. So across the organization, managing the employee would not be an easier task for many of the organization. So some sort of human resource information system, okay, that could be very much helpful to any organization. So across global level, they are implementing some sort of information system so that they would be in contact with this expatriate by means of asking varieties of reports from them time to time. And such kind of HRIS are being very interactive, particularly to the top management of the organization so that they can finalize their new plans and policies according to the respective country, and they can serve the customers across the globe. Establishing culture and developing the quality workforce. While working internationally, the individual businesses, okay, those who are operating at international level, so they are establishing their own culture in the another country and developing the quality of workforce as per their requirement by means of providing some sort of training and concentrating on development of human resource across the organization so that they will be further promoted on some other national international operations and so as to serve the customer better. So by means of concentrating these IHRM strategies, many global international firms, those who are serving these global customers by means of providing the global transactions. Issues in IHRM. While dealing with HR related activities, okay, we are working with the people, those who are belonging to different countries, and as they are from different socio-cultural background, uh, they will differ in terms of knowledge, skills, efficiency, okay, and so many other things. So, what form of issues will come forward to the top management, and how does that they are going to solve these issues? So, these are some primary issues wherever any international HR manager could come forward and they try to resolve these issues. So, they are managing their international assignments, okay, very appropriately by means of identifying and selecting the appropriate expatriate across the organization, and they are providing some sufficient sort of training to them, and they will be further promoted for any international assignments depending on their knowledge, skills, efficiency, and what form of international exposure the candidate is having. Employee and family adjustment. Persons, those who are being relocated into any other country, it is quite necessary to relocate the family members also, those who are being going with their families. So any expatriate, those who are being relocating in other country, we need to manage their immigrations and other travel arrangements that we should have to made. So company will take care of all these things together. Selecting the right person for the foreign assignments. Any kind of foreign assignments or related projects that could be handled by the firm very appropriately by means of selecting the right person for the right job. If any person, those have been posted in foreign assignment, suppose say in other countries, say for example China or Japan, so that expatriate must have the socio-cultural background, or he must have the knowledge with respect to that socio-cultural uh, settings or surroundings, wherever that appropriate person could get the work done to the people, and they should get involved in the process of management development activities. Some other activities which are being related with culture, okay, here the socio cultural norms that include the several activities that we will discuss it today, that will be also the part of overall IHRM strategies. And since this culture will differ from country to country, so some sort of problems could be get arises within the organization, but how does that we are going to overcome with? So there will be communication strategies or negotiation strategies would be there, and this will helpful to the expatriate as well as the country head HR. Those are dealing with these IHRM issues, they can handle it very appropriately by means of giving the appropriate information to this expatriate. Then another activities that are being related with IHRM is language. In many countries, there will be different sort of languages are being spoken, and due to which communication could not be an easier task or phenomena. So these sort of problems could get arises in IHRM related activities. So these companies are focusing on multilingualism candidates, okay, as well as multicultural, those who are having some international exposures, okay. So these companies are focusing on such kind of potential candidates, and they will be selected as a expatriate, so that they can contribute better in not only in terms of their organizational growth and development, but as well as to satisfy the needs and wants of the international clients. And it is quite necessary to serve these international clients very appropriately. So by means of using culture, language, and communication, we can resolve the issue. So these are the basic problems in IHRM. Barriers to effective global HRM. To any HR, okay, one of the major difficulty would be what form of workforce that are being available within the company. This workforce will be differ in terms of knowledge, skills, efficiency, and their socio-cultural backgrounds. Okay, so we will came to know that there is a very huge variation in between these employee, as they are belonging to different sort of culture, different sort of socio-cultural background. So that could be one of the difficulty wherever we cannot implement the good HRM related activities to certain extent. But this problem can be overcome if we conduct our HR activities, international HR activities, very honestly and appropriately, wherever employees will cooperate with the organization and they do serve the customer as better as possible. So some sort of variations are that will be the difficulty for any international businesses that can be get resolved very easily by means of using their mutual negotiation processes. Perception of HR, wherever the any expatriate, those are belonging to any other countries, those are working, we do find some sort of difficulties with respect to the national HR heads. So sometimes it could be taken in some another way, and many people, those who are belonging to the home country environment, those generally they could not cooperate with the international assignees or expatriates. So what exactly that do they think? Okay, that could vary from the HR perspectives, those who are being working directly or indirectly with the different expatriates. So there may be a difficulty with respect to the perception of HR, but this issue also can be get resolved by means of using their mutual cooperation and coordination with negotiation processes. Attitude, actions of the headquarter and actions of the headquarter towards HR. Many international HR heads, okay, those who are belonging to the headquarters, what do they think about the respect to expatriate, those are belonging to some different countries, third country, or suppose say any first country. Here also there may be some sort of problems, and that problems can be get resolved also. Here the headquarters of the firm, they do formulate their HR policies and they do implement their HR plans and policies across the organization. It depends on the individual countries head, okay, particularly those who are handling the HR related activities. So lots of responsibilities has been there on the country's head, and they do regulate these activities as per their requirement. But what do exactly the headquarters HR person that they do think about the HR related activities, and how should the respective countries HR head they will implement these plans. So there may be some sort of difference in between the respective countries. So to they are also going to avoid this difficulty by conducting the meetings, and this issue can be get resolved using the by means of implementing the effective use of HRIS. Resistance to change. Now this could be a major difficulty in certain countries where do we find that majority of HRs, those who are quite old or they are experienced enough, they generally do not cooperate and they do refuse to bring some sort of changes into the phenomena, particularly to bring some changes in the HR processes. So we do find some sort of difficulty related to resistance to change. Okay, they will refuses the proposal, and as well as they do not cooperate and participate in the decision making processes, and some sort of difficulties would come further. We do find some another kind of difficulties that is related with cultural differences. Cultural differences in learning and teaching style. So these learning and teaching style also will differ from country to country, and that may be happen due to the socio-cultural differences in various countries. Say for example, what will be the socio-cultural settings in Japan that could not be similar to China or to other countries. So there may be some sort of difficulty with respect to these cultural differences in learning. Nowadays, this can be also get resolved by means of using the translator form of services that the companies are being getting from the appropriate persons. We do find some other form of barriers, okay, and that barriers could be depend on the other socio-cultural environment, or that can be called as the external environment. And these external environmental factors would vary from country to country, and therefore some sort of differences would be occur. So we do find some political and legal factors due to which uh, the respective countries, those who are having the ruling government within that country, so they do change their plans and policies by means of giving some sort of protectionism to the countries. We do came to know about some cultural factors or socio-cultural factors, economic factors. Here we are talking about the different plans and policies that will frame the country's economic development as well as growth. Labor management relation factors. Say for example in India, labor management relates to manage the labor management processes. India has adopted the British system where we do concentrating on different sort of rules and regulations or laws. So different laws were enacted, and those countries, those who are being working with India, they need to study these legal rules and regulation enactments and legislations from India, particularly which has been framed out to maintain the good management relations. The next topic is introduction to culture. As we are talking about this culture, culture is nothing but some sort of belief, rules, tools, techniques, okay, or institution or some sort of artifacts we called in that characterize the human population. When we are talking about the culture, culture is in overall a shared system of attitude and feelings. When do we negotiate with some other person, okay, we do behave in an appropriate fashion, and we try to coordinate our activity as per our cultural settings. It is also called as an integrated system of acquired and transmitted behavior. So what we will learn from the existence, okay, and we need to transmit it appropriately and try to behave in a particular fashion. So that's why it is called as an integrated system of acquired and transmitted behavior. Sometimes it would be called, according to Edward Taylor, okay, what he says about what exactly the culture is. Culture is a complex system of knowledge, belief, art, moral, law, custom, and other capabilities acquired by men as a member of the society. So in overall, okay, culture is a very um, complex part of the phenomena, okay, that depends on uh, how does that we grow, particularly that depends on the existence of knowledge, okay, and what sort of belief system, particularly belief has been related with the religion, and how strong will be the values would be there, okay, depending on that the cultural values would be strong enough. It also depends on the artistic phenomena, moral, law, custom, and other sort of factors. While talking about the culture, there are some other concepts, okay, we are talking about Grit Happosted. This is one of the very famous researcher, and he has also developed the cross cultural theories. What he says about Grit Happosted, what he says about culture, culture is a collective programming of mind which distinguishes member of one group from another. Now lastly, it depends on the human person that how does he treats the another person. So that is totally called as a collective programming of the individual mind, okay, and how does that individual person do they behave with some another person, okay, that has been depends on some sort of chemical processes that goes in the mind, okay, and we do react to that particular situation, okay, accordingly. According to Robert Kuchkhon, okay, Kuchkhon and Leggington, what he says, okay, about the culture. Culture is habitual and traditional way of thinking, feeling, and reacting that are characteristics of the ways particular society meets its problem as particular point of time. Now, whenever that Robert Kuchon and Leggington talk about this culture, so they told about that it is habitual and tradition way of thinking, feeling, and reacting to any particular activity, okay, by that particular individual or by the society. So it finally depends on that individual person how does that he will treat to that particular situation. In general, what exactly culture is? The modern definition: culture is a system of values and norms. So these two things are very important. It is a system of values and norms that are shared among the group of people. These socio-cultural values are depend on two important factors: our value system and our socio-cultural norms. So when do we talk about culture? So culture is a combination of values and social norms that should be shared among the people. The another topic is elements of culture. As we talk about culture, what exactly culture is? So these are the different elements of culture. The first one is called as values, norms, cultural traits, enculturation, diffusion, acculturation, and assimilation. So culture is made up of different things. Okay, when we are talking about culture, so culture is either a system or combination of values and norms. When we are talking about these values and norms, there could be some different other factors that could be also comes under the culture. So let us talk about some different sort of examples, okay, that culture would be vary from what we likely to eat, okay, in what will be the housing criteria that we will prefer, okay, what kind of technological goods generally we will be used, okay, what kind of language, okay, what name generally that we would prefer. So many things, okay, it would also include some sort of traditions also. So lots of things are being associated with the culture. So what exactly will be the culture and what elements would be included in the culture? So let us discuss one by one. Now talking about values first, okay. Values are nothing but the individual conception about the phenomena by that particular person. So values are generally based on some abstract idea by that particular society, and how does that they will believe, whether the belief would be either good, right, or wrong, or whether it is desirable. So values are nothing but the some sort of abstract ideas, say for example honesty, beauty, intelligence, okay, or some sort of other factors, say for example democracy, freedom, wealth, prosperity, love, compassion, faith, religion, health, happiness, education, and knowledge. These are called as several values. These values are nothing but the society's belief, whether that society's belief would be either correct or not correct depending on their own parameters, and how does that this society will believe these values. So values are anything members of the culture aspire to hold in high esteem. It is primarily a desirable form of characteristics that each and every individual has been focusing to aspire or hold these kind of values in a very high esteem, and this should be believable by the group of people. So values are the things to be achieved, things considered of great worth as per some common understanding. Okay, now it depends on the individual society, okay, and what kind of cultures that they were adopted, and depending on that, how does the society's attitude towards certain particular concept. So that concepts are nothing but the abstract ideas. So it is the attitude. Values are sometimes could be called as society's attitude towards some abstract ideas. Values are not mere an abstract concept, they are invested with considerable emotional significance. These values are being believable on the basis of using some emotional intelligence. People are pursuing these values and they live with the values, okay, in a longer run, and they do conduct some lots of activities, particularly to transmit these values from generations to generation. Similarly is with the norms. Now let us discuss with what exactly the norms. These norms are called as social norms also. Okay, so norms are basically means the rules and regulations or guidelines that will prescribe the appropriate behavior in a given situation by any particular individual. So these are the general guidelines. Okay, these are the unwritten rules. Okay, when we say it is a written rule, then it should be called as law. Okay, so norms are humanly created rules of behavior. People do behave in a particular fashion, depending on their knowledge and belief, and whatever form of cultural settings that they live together. So norms are also divided into some certain parts. Okay, that is called as folkways, more taboos, and laws. So when we are talking about these socio-cultural norms, so that socio-cultural norms are sometimes being appropriate, or sometimes it would not be appropriate. So maybe to certain extent that would be the part of ethics also. Okay, so these are the humanly created rules for behaving with others specifically, and this could be vary from country to country. This could be vary from the organizations to organizations, even from expatriate to expatriate, those are belonging to the different socio-cultural background. Folkways. Okay, talking about the folkways are the kind of general manner, okay, so which we can behave with some particular uh, people. So these are called as some sort of action. Okay, folkways are the action of little moral significance. Now such kind of values which are not very much important to particular person, but we are giving some sort of importance in our socio cultural settings. Say for example, okay, rather they are social conventions concerning things about things as such, appropriate dress code in particular situation, okay, good social manner, okay, eating out, okay, with correct utensils and so on. So these are our social related activities. So what exactly we should have to wear for any particular function, so that depends on a particular situation. How to behave in a good appropriate manner with others. Okay, how to eat with correct utensils. Okay, that may be depend on some individual persons, and in what socio-cultural settings that the person live together with that particular society. Folkways define the way people are expected to behave. Violation of folkways are not normally a serious matter. Now whenever folkways are violated, okay, that is not a very big difficulty. Okay, how to wear a particular dress or to behave with some particular person, people could get forget it after some period of time, and it could not be a matter in many of the difficulties would occur due to that folkways. But whenever we are talking about international HRM related activities, okay, here we need to think about what form of dress codes are being essential with some other countries, okay, and in which situation we should have to wear the dress code, okay, how do we should have to behave with some other, particularly with the expatriate, and what sort of eating behavior would be there. People who violate the folkways are often considered an ill-mannered person. He would not be an evil or any bad one, but it should be considered as an ill-mannered person. Some basic etiquettes need to be followed by means of using these folkways. There are different types of social norms. Okay, whenever we are talking about the norms, so norms are generally of four types. The first one is folkway, another one is more, third one is taboos, and fourth one has been called as laws. So how does that social norms are finally being converted into laws? So initially, okay, we saw about that folkways. So these are the called as norms that stem from and organizes with casual interaction with the people. Movers are nothing but the norms that structure the difference between right and wrong. So what is appropriate for any individual person, here we do think, okay, over here and behave in a particular fashion. Taboos are the strong negative opinion or values, okay, with respect to any particular aspects under study. So particularly violating these taboos will result it into some immediate action by any of the person, or there will be some extreme disgusting phenomena against that person, those who are not behaving in an appropriate fashion. These norms have been converted into laws, okay, norms that are being with formerly written rules, okay, those are called as laws. So norms that is formally inscribed at the state of federal level, okay, which can be formulated into some rules and regulations by the government, those are called as laws. These are all the meanings and definitions which has been covered with respect to more, taboos, and laws. So mores are strict norms that control the moral and ethical behavior. Mores are the norms based on definitions of right and wrong. People feel strongly about them, and violating them typically resulted in disapproval from the group. Violating more can bring some serious retribution and punishment. Say, for example, incitement against theft or adultery. Those who are involved in any sort of theft or adultery, they do be punished by the either the individual society, or people could neglect from that particular person, and that should be generally resulted into disapproval. People will not consider that person as a part of the group. In case of taboos, taboos are the norms that society holds so strongly that violating these taboos will result it into some extreme actions. Maybe that would be the part of the group or will not be the part of the group depending on the violations. Generally, people who do uh, are involved in any kind of taboos, okay, generally people would not consider themselves as a good, okay. So oftentimes the violator of the taboos is considered to be unfit to live in that society. So people generally, those who are involved with any sort of taboos, say for example, in our society, a widow would not be considered in our society, but as a part of the system, okay, where we do find out some sort of difficulties. Say for example, incest or cannibalism are taboos in most of the countries. There some sort of phenomena which are related with sexism or some other concept, okay, which are being totally banned in certain countries, which cannot be discussed openly. There will be a finger on the lips always. So some sort of taboos would be there. Laws. Laws are generally called as written rules that should be enforced by the individual government or authorities within that particular country. So any matter that has been related with, suppose say, driving while drunk, theft, murder, or trespassing are the example of laws in India, due to which the person, those who are disobeying these laws, okay, they should have to go to the jail or they could be fined. So violation of laws generally resulted into some actions by the respective authority, okay, due to its non-enforcement appropriately by that respective person. Whenever we are talking about the elements of culture, okay, we recently saw about these norms and values. These are the basic differences between the norms and values. So we do identify norms are accepted standard of the behavior. Values are general principles that help to decide this right or wrong, whether they are right or wrong. Norms are the specific guidelines, okay, whereas values are general guidelines. In case of norms, behavior that are accepted by the society, okay. In case of values, values primarily based on certain kind of belief or religion. So we do find out that principles believed by an individual. Norms may vary from society to society, okay. In case of values, may vary from individual to individual. So these are the basic differences over norms and values. While talking about some other aspects related with values and norms, those are being the part of culture. We recently talk about culture. Okay, it is a system of values and norms of the society. So values are belief, philosophies, and principles that drive the group, whereas norms are grounded rules that dictate how people interact with each other. So values are quite superior as compared to norms. Combination of these values and norms gives rise to culture, and culture is an interaction between two, the belief and the behavior of the group. Okay, when we are talking about the belief means the values, and behavior of the group means nothing but the norm. Cultural traits. Now there are different sort of social customs in the society, okay. So that social customs are called as cultural traits. So these are the unique aspects of individual culture. Say for example, we do generally welcome any sort of guest by means of using the gesture that is called as namaste. So these are called as the social customs, and that social customs would vary from country to country, and we do behave in a particular fashion by means of understanding the cultural traits across the various countries. In international HRM, this is very important aspects in dealing with the expatriates specifically. So this may be the custom as such, men opening the door for women, or gestures, say for example namaste, okay, or any other sort of activities that deals with some particular culture. So these are the general morals that should be followed by any particular society. Then another aspect that is dealing with the culture, the elements of culture, and that is called as enculturation and acculturation. Whenever we are talking about this enculturation, okay, enculturation means acquiring anyone's culture, okay, in the society. So Enculturation is the acquisition of one's own culture, whereas acculturation is the amalgamation of two culture. People, those who are belonging to two different culture or even countries, okay, they do adopt the culture of each other, okay, so that is called as acculturation, whereas enculturation is acquisition of one's own culture. Enculturation is an essential requirement for survival. People do adopt this culture, and this could be generally called as people accept the culture those who are being having some dominant values. Acculturation is not an essential requirement for survival. So people those who are belonging to different culture, they either uh, share their values or norms with each other, but it is not necessary for the survival. But enculturation can be useful for survival of the growth into that respective society, and it is quite necessary to adopt that dominant culture within that society. Enculturation is the very first familiarization process to a particular culture. This is the first process whenever the child has been born in any particular society. They the child, okay, whenever it tries to grow, okay, that it adopts or they will adopt that particular form of culture in which that particular society the child grows. Acculturation is not the first but second or third familiarization to various cultures. Acculturation could not be an essential criteria to grow. People, those who are being visiting to another countries, okay, wherever they want to get familiarized with that particular country's culture, okay, they do adopt that acculturation. So these are the basic aspects which are being related with enculturation and acculturation. So enculturation is the process of acquiring the cultural traits. Say for example, one can acquire the cultural traits naturally within one's culture. So people are generally adopting one's own culture that depends on the sort of values or norms in which that the person has been grown. However, culture can be acquired in other ways, such as contact with other groups or living abroad or marriages or someone from another culture or even by training. Now, enculturation can be get adopted by means of using varieties of things. Either you should have to live abroad or you need to get married with someone else wherever we can try to know about another culture. So enculturation will happens in this sense. Acculturation, whenever two or more cultures are being there, a process by which individual or group adapt the practice and values of one's culture while still remaining in their own culture of origin. Here, people belonging to one culture, they try to know about the culture of the other another group of people. They typically uses in a reference to a minority culture adopting elements of a majority culture. So people those who belong to some dominant group, people generally try to adopt that dominant cultural values. Okay, here in case of acculturation. If contacts between the societies are prolonged, acculturation may occur. Okay, so people, those who are being belonging to some different societies, okay, and if their contacts in these societies are being prolonged, acculturation could occur. Texts that have been borrowed over a short term, okay, become permanently adopted. Some of the values that we are borrowed from some another culture, in that case acculturation will occur. Say for example, new custom, devices, gesture, ideas, okay, irrevocably change both interacting the culture. People do generally exchange their thought processes with others, those who are belonging to some different culture. Say for example, Mughal rule in India changed many customs of Hindu society in India. So we do find that acculturation will occur. Now talking about the diffusion process, okay, diffusion is called as the cultural diffusion. This diffusion is called as cultural diffusion. It is the process by which the elements of culture is transmitted from one individual to group or to another. So generally any kind of ideas or innovation that took place within the society, okay, that could be get transmitted from one individual to another, okay, from one group to another or from one society to another society. Such kind of transmission, okay, is called as cultural diffusion. Each society borrows these cultural traits from others, particularly new learned traits seems better than traditional ones. So as far as talking about these cultural traits, so cultural traits are some sort of values that we could adopt from another culture or could get borrowed from another culture, and we do try to behave in a particular fashion. Some new scientific discoveries, innovative technologies, current media events, films cause the cultural change. How does that cultural change will occur? Okay, that will be helpful in cultural diffusion. That cultural diffusion will occur due to new scientific discoveries, innovative technologies, and the current trends in the media and films. However, some sectors of the society resist such changes, and this is known as cultural lags. uh, Societies which will refuses or there is a resistance to change to bring the some sort of changes into the existing culture, so we do find out some sort of cultural lags are there. There is no diffusion processes will happen within that particular culture. The another aspects that is called as the element of culture, and that is called as cultural assimilation. Now, what is that cultural assimilation? Cultural assimilation occurs when the ethnic minority sacrifices its own culture to integrate into the society. Now, here we do find out that, okay, any particular society, okay, those who can sacrifice their own culture and adopt another culture, in that case we will call as assimilation or cultural assimilation. So assimilation occurs when immigrants or other newcomers adopt the culture of the society in which they have settled. Okay, people those who are not from India but they came to India and settled in India, they were adopted that Indian culture, then cultural assimilation will happen. When people leave their own culture to enter another, or they must grapple with unfamiliar or unpredictable event, relationship, or object, even in this case also assimilation would occur. Some of these may be caused to the phenomena known as cultural shocks. Whenever people do not accept one's own culture, and they do refuse to adopt these cultural traits, in that case cultural shocks will happen. Okay, and we do find out that resulted into anger if insulting. So in that case you do find out that anger will reflect some sort of cultural shocks. Unnecessary laughter to someone, even that could be also an example of that cultural shocks that may hurt to some anybody person. While talking about assimilation, okay, this will affect the individual or people suffer from anxiety, confusion, apathy when they push into unfamiliar environment. So people those who are being trying to know about the cultural traits of another culture, generally they are weak, okay, in terms of power and other relationship. They generally need to adopt another culture, okay, as discussed in the earlier slide. So these kind of people may be there may be a difficulty particularly to those people those are suffering from anxiety, confusion, and apathy. So we could not put people into the unfamiliar environment. As in assimilation, this could be happen. Further result in emotional stress and intellectual withdrawal would be there. So people, those who are not cooperating with each other, say for example the attitude of HR towards expatriate, so sometimes that will be resulted into the emotional stress on the expatriate, and there will be intellectual withdrawal. They may left their organization and goes further. Significant impact on business performance. Due to assimilation, okay, whenever any expatriate left their jobs from the international assignment, okay, it is quite very, or it is very very difficult for any organization for its survival, and we do find out a lot of difficulties over there. We do find some important task that is related with assimilation. Everyone adopts the dominant culture. So in assimilation, we do find out that what is happening around us, and we learn from this environment, okay, and whatever is the majority group, we do try to behave in that particular fashion according to the dominant values of that particular group. So assimilation will occur, and sometimes it may be a difficulty to international HR persons also. So that's all for our today's session. Thank you very much.